என் பேர் மோனிகா. எனக்கு 21 வயசு ஆகுது. நான் வந்து ஆப்ரேஷன் எக்ஸிக்யூட்டிவாக இருக்கேன். இங்கே வந்து ஷிப்மெண்ட் சார்ட்டிங் அண்ட் பேக்கிங் ப்ராசஸ் பண்ணுறோம். ஃப்ளிப்கார்ட்டில் ஒர்க் பண்ணுறது வந்து நான் ரொம்ப ப்ரௌடாக ஃபீல் பண்ணுறேன்.
என் பேர் வந்து சசிகலா. ஃப்ளிப்கார்ட்டில் வந்து ஆப்ரேஷன் எக்ஸிக்யூட்டிவாக இருக்கேன்.
என்னோட நேம் ஜெனிஃபர். ரெகுலராக வந்து இப்போ வந்து ரிப்போர்ட்டிங் ஒர்க் பண்ணிகிட்ருக்கேன்.
I am Shumati. I am a hub in charge here doing operation as well as managing people.
I am Bhuvana. I am a FST manager for Chennai sites. My day starts and ends everything with safety and security of employee works inside the facility.
ஃபுல்லாக கேர்ள்ஸாக இருக்கிறதுனால ஒர்க் பண்ணுறதுக்கு ரொம்ப ஃப்ரீயாக ஃபீல் பண்ணுறேன். அப்புறம் வந்து எல்லாருமே ஃப்ரெண்ட்ஸ் அண்ட் ஃபேமிலியாக இருக்கிறதுனால எனக்கு ஒர்க் பிளேஸ் மாதிரியே ஃபீல் ஆகலை. ஃபுல்லாக காலேஜ் அது மாதிரி ஜெயிலி வந்து ஜாலியாக இருக்குது.
கேர்ள்ஸ் வந்து ஐடி எல்லாத்துலேயும் கேர்ள்ஸ் இருக்காங்க இப்போது. ஆனால் இந்த மாதிரி வேர் ஹவுஸில் இல்லை. அதனால நான் இது ஒரு சேலஞ்சாகவே எடுத்து நான் இங்கே ஒர்க் பண்ணலான்னு டிசைட் பண்ணேன்.
இப்போ வந்து விமன்ஸ்க்கு வந்து எல்லா இடத்துலையும் ஈக்குவல் ஆப்பர்ச்சுனிட்டி கிடைக்குது. இப்போ வந்து மென்க்கு வந்து டீச் பண்ணோன்னா அவங்க வந்து இன்னொரு மென்க்கு தான் டீச் பண்ணுவாங்க. பட் இப்போ விமன்க்கு நம்ம டீச் பண்ணோன்னா வந்து ஹோல் ஜென்ரேஷனுக்கே வந்து டீச் பண்ணுவாங்க. இந்த ஒர்க்கில் ரொம்ப பெஸ்ட் திங் என்னென்னா எங்கள் கஸ்டமரை வந்து நாங்கள் வந்து ஷார்ட்டஸ்ட் டைமில் வந்து அவங்களோட சாட்டிஸ்ஃபேக்ஷனை வந்து நாங்கள் வந்து நிறைவேற்றுறோம். அதுதான் எங்களுக்கு வந்து பெஸ்ட்டாக இருக்கும்.
My duty is to take care of my employee who is working inside the facility, and even while traveling also I make sure they travel safe and they reach the hub, and same time while going home also I make sure they reach their home very safely. I want to be one of the best and the topmost a person as a woman who represents a security field all over the world, and I will prove it.
Women are the real architects of the world.
பெண்கள் தன்னம்பிக்கையின் வடிவம்.
Women believed they could, so they did it.
Hello, good afternoon everyone. I hope each one of you along with your families are doing well and keeping safe. I wanted to start out by talking about how we think about inclusion and diversity at Flipkart. At Flipkart, our people and culture vision underpins our commitment to inclusion. Inclusion, in fact, is the centerpiece of our vision for the people function, which is to be the employer of choice by providing an inclusive and entrepreneurial environment through sustainable people practices. I'm often asked how an organization can marry data and people instincts in the right manner to build an inclusive workplace. For this, I would like to share an insight. At Flipkart, we call our charter inclusion and diversity, and not the other way around. We in fact took a conscious call to put inclusion first, in order to bring to the attention that representation of diverse employees does not automatically translate to inclusive workplaces. In fact, it takes conscious action to make them feel included. Therefore, it is imperative that we have our ears firmly to the ground to check on the on-ground experiences that our employees face. Whether a seat at the table is also a voice at the table for people from diverse backgrounds. It is critical to create a dignity and belonging for diverse talent. And for this, I'd like to share a personal story of mine. I've actually been at Flipkart for about 9 years now. And as I tenured in leadership roles across Flipkart, it became very natural for me to think that people from diverse backgrounds will automatically feel included as they join, especially at the leadership level. This was not the case when a leader came up to me one day and said that they had trouble assimilating in Flipkart. And that's when I realized that this particular leader was from a very different background and had different experiences to share and was not feeling included, so to speak. And this is when I lent a helping hand as a mentor to this particular leader. What I'm trying to say is that it's not just enough to define inclusion as a value, define it as a metric even, but it's about listening to the voices of employees at all levels that join you and are going through the journey. How do they feel included? And then you should be able to translate those voices into concrete actions, into an inclusive workplace. It is said that your values are your anchors when the toughest times come by, and I believe this is true for an individual as well as for an organization. Last year, when the pandemic hit, I would say that the value of inclusion served Flipkart in the most meaningful of ways. And for this, I'd like to narrate another story. At Flipkart, we have a mission to transform commerce through technology. It's in fact our mission. And towards this, we endeavor to reach the next 200 million customers who are going to be diverse culturally and in terms of gender, socioeconomic backgrounds, digital literacy, and so on. To be truly disruptive, our internal teams need to reflect the markets we serve, the customers we serve, and think of solutions that speak to this market and to the customers. Over this year, we launched several path-breaking products such as vernacular, voice-assisted search, and so on. How was all of this possible? It is actually, I believe, due to our inclusive and diverse teams that understand the customers that we are serving, the sellers we are serving, and the diversity that is existing amongst them. Therefore, inclusion is not, I would say, a value by itself or something that HR drives as an agenda, but it's actually a business imperative. And therefore, inclusion accelerates business goals in our case. The IND vision at Flipkart, in fact, talks about this, that the best ideas can come from anywhere. We foster a culture of inclusion and belonging where diverse teams innovate and excel every day. Similarly, with the pandemic and the increased dependence on e-commerce, we in fact saw this as an opportunity and scaled up our efforts to hire more women across our company, including in supply chain, where we are present across 16,000 pin codes across India. We truly believe this pandemic provides an opportunity to reimagine the future with a renewed focus on more inclusive ways of working. Moving forward, beyond the business case for inclusion, I want to talk about how are we truly engaging the hearts and minds of people, because I think this is the secret sauce of how organizations can champion this agenda. Our top leadership has inclusion and diversity goals as part of their P0 metrics. They also have opportunities to sponsor various pillars and programs within the charter. To drive cultural transformation, we have tailored programs for middle management and for HR even to develop their competency, as well as for all Flipsters at large to enhance their fluency in the language of inclusion. The policies that we craft are in alignment with what our vision is and is backed by metrics which we wish to drive. And the data comes to the rescue in terms of a mirror. And for this, again, I'd like to cite an example. We have a program which is designed for moms on board, which is basically for working mothers who go on maybe a sabbatical and go through a maternity break and come back. We've actually crafted a policy for this purpose. But is it enough to stop at the policy? We also look at the data. What is, for instance, the kind of retention percentages for these women who are returning back to work? What is the distribution of their ratings and promo distribution? What is the promo velocity that they experience? These metrics, in fact, after our inspection, I'm happy to report they are at par with the larger employee pool. For me, the true cultural transformation of an organization is complete only when the leaders and each employee start to own the agenda and drive it with purpose and passion. For this, I'd like to cite an example of eCart, our supply chain function, wherein the leaders themselves have taken on audacious targets and unprecedented initiatives to drive the I&D agenda. For instance, we have an all-women shift in our facilities. We have people with disabilities run our last mile hubs. This shows that once you create a larger purpose for inclusion and diversity within an organization, the flywheel of collective leadership and ownership starts to kick in, and then you have true magic happen. This also tells us that with purpose and collective commitment, we can truly change the narrative within an organization and shatter several stereotypes. In this case, for instance, what are the right roles for women in an organization? What can people with disabilities do within an organization? I believe these are examples that drive home that point. I hope through these stories, I was able to share our experiences and learnings with each one of you. At Flipkart, inclusion and diversity is not just a value, it has to be experienced by every employee in moments that matter. And we are on that journey right now, and we hope to continue on the same. Thank you so much, Avtar, for giving me this opportunity to address this audience. All the best to each one of you and your organizations. Thank you so much.